Hi, folks. It's the Low Post. I'm Mike Gross, and seated to my right is Gordy Jones. And you may remember us from the NCAA playoff version of the Low Post, in which we were wrong so comprehensively that we thought we'd take another shot at it for the NBA playoffs. You remember the NBA, that vast sea of 82 games and people tanking the games and all of that stuff. Well, now the playoffs are going to start where it sort of gets real and sort of gets interesting, and we thought we would give you a little taste of what you've been ignoring, probably wisely, for the last 5 months or so. Have I correctly identified where we're headed with this, Gordon?
And where we've been, nonetheless.
Yeah,
You're a bitter man, Mike.
I try to cover it up, though, and move on. I just try to move on. So we're going to start with the eastern half of the league.
Yes.
Which is certainly the lesser of the two halves, and it's been that way for a while now.
Right.
The West has been better. I thought it might have been abating a little bit. The Celtics won the whole thing a couple years ago with Cleveland being so good and everything, but this year, I think maybe it's going back the other way a little bit, where the East is really, I think, two teams, and that's about it in terms of chances to go deep.
Cleveland and Orlando. That's all you got.
Yeah, that's all you got.
And you know, Cleveland probably in a partly in an attempt to keep LeBron around, but partly because they want to get over the top, obviously. You know, they bring in a guy like Shaq. They bring in a guy like Antoine Jameson. Now, the interesting thing to me is, okay, if Cleveland and Orlando play, which you would hope that will happen.
I would think.
You know, Cleveland has Shaq to battle Dwight Howard, to neutralize Dwight Howard. Now, my question is, the way to attack Shaq for years has been to put him in a high pick-and-roll situation. And if you put him out on the floor, how's he going to guard Dwight Howard out there? How's he going to, match his quickness going to the basket? I still think it's a bad matchup for Cleveland, and Orlando gives them all kinds of problems because of the way they play, spreading the floor with the shooters around Dwight Howard, 4 guys on the perimeter, him in the post. That's still a pretty bad matchup for Cleveland, and conceivably they could lose it.
They could. The idea that Shaq was going to neutralize Dwight Howard was probably a half-baked idea all along, because I mean, and you're right, Shaq can't get out there and run around and guard anybody. Yeah. On the other hand, can Dwight Howard hurt you out there? I mean, I don't know.
Just from a standpoint of rolling to the basket, and Shaq having to match his quickness out of a high pick and roll situation. I think it's a really troublesome matchup. In fact, you could argue that series would be better for Cleveland, or that matchup would be better for Cleveland, just with Varejao in a situation where he's out there scrambling around.
Yeah, right.
Which is what he does.
Yeah, right. I think Shaq's value to them is not going to be matching up with Dwight Howard. It might be being able to score on the block and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not at the point in his career now where you can throw it down there 20 times. Plus, with LeBron, it's not going to happen anyway. He's not going to get 20 shots. It's just not going to happen anymore.
The thing that I wanted to see with Cleveland is for them to figure out how to utilize LeBron to his absolute maximum in all the different ways. I think LeBron could be a post-up player. Yeah. I think he could be that point forward kind of thing, like Larry Bird was. Right. I think he could be a catch and shoot guy sometimes. Right. Although I think he could be all of these things. Right. And instead, in the playoffs, it comes down to 4 guys spread out and watch him dribble, which ain't going to fly. They're not going to win the whole deal that way. And I'm not sure they've gotten past that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. That seems to be how every NBA team does it when they have the transcendent player like that,
which is unfortunate.
Which makes the product unwatchable to some degree.
Unfortunately.
I mean, one other point about Orlando-Cleveland. I mean, that last year Orlando had Turkoglu. This year they've replaced him with Vince Carter. I don't trust Vince Carter.
Well, that's the other thing, yeah.
But Turkoglu in Orlando's system was perfect. He was a 6'10" guy who could handle it, who could shoot it, who was clutch. Vince Carter, I don't know. I just don't trust him.
It doesn't seem to have impacted their performance day in, day out over the regular season, but you wonder if it will, because you talk about that spread out and shoot style. Mm-hmm. Turkoglu was very much better suited to that than Vince Carter is.
Because it's a European style. He's a European guy. So, but the other part of that is they didn't have Jameer Nelson in the playoffs last year. He was hurt for most of the playoffs, and never effectively. So now they got him, and that's got to make a difference.
Okay, so the East comes down to Cleveland against Orlando. Who do you like?
Boy, I don't know. I think Cleveland, but I mean, I think also with an asterisk, too. I think Orlando will really extend them and give them a real good series. I think you're looking at a 6 or 7 game series. But I think Cleveland, though.
It will be worth the whole, maybe not worth, but it will be the culmination of the whole NBA season in the Eastern half of the league is to see those two teams play.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's the old thing that styles make fights. Well, styles make series here, too. Orlando really gives them problems. Gives anybody problems just because of the way they play.
They're hard to play against.
Yeah.